Hi class, it's Mrs. Kane and I'm here with your next e-learning video. I'm not going to be teaching any new material today. I'm just going to be reviewing the material that I talked about in the last two videos. And we're going to be focusing on solving equations. So first we're going to talk about solving equations that have exponents, and then we'll do some problems where we have to solve equations that have radicals. After today's video, I just want you to do a short assignment. I think I put 4 problems on there, kind of one of each type, just to practice solving equations with exponents and radicals. All right, so solving equations with exponents. In the first set of problems, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to isolate the base of the exponent. Okay, and then we're going to talk about how to get rid of that exponent so that we can solve for the variable. So in the first problem, we have to undo this multiplication first. So we're going to divide both sides by 3. And the 3's cancel out, so we get x minus 1 to the 4th equals 16. Okay, so we're raising this base to the 4th power to get 16. So in order to get rid of this 4 here, we're going to take the 4th root of both sides. Whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. When I take the 4th root of x minus 1 to the 4th, I'm left with just x minus 1. Okay, now, because I'm raising this base to the 4th power, I don't know if that base is positive 2 or if that base is negative 2. Just like if it were squared, we don't know if that base squared is positive or if it's negative. So anytime you solve by taking an even power, you got to make sure that you consider both the positive and the negative solution. So if we add 1 here, 2 plus 1 is 3, and if we add 1 over here, negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. And so we get x equals 3 and x equals negative 1. Okay, next problem. We're going to start by subtracting 13 from both sides. X plus 5 to the 3rd equals negative 27. And now we're taking this base, we're cubing it to get negative 27. So we have to figure out, what do we have to raise to the 3rd power to get negative 27? So to get that answer, we're going to take the cubed root of both sides. This cubed root cancels out the exponent. And we're left with x plus 5 equals. Now you can take an odd root of a negative. The cubed root of negative 27 is negative 3. Okay, you can use a calculator to do that. And then we're going to go ahead and subtract 5 from both sides. And so we get x equals negative 8. Now we don't have to worry about a plus or minus sign because we took an odd root. So you only have to worry about that plus or minus when your root is even. All right, now the next set of problems we're going to talk about are exponential equations, but the exponent is a variable. So we're going to start by doing the same steps. We're going to go ahead and get that base x to the 2/3 by itself. So in this next problem, we have to start by adding 3 to both sides. We get 4x to the 2/3 equals 100. Okay, and then we're going to divide both sides by 4. And so we get x to the 2/3 equals 25. And now we want to get rid of this exponent 2/3. So we're going to raise both sides to the 3/2 power. Okay, the reason we do that, 3/2 is the reciprocal of 2/3. And so we just get x to the 1st. These 3's and 2's cancel out. X equals. Okay, now we're going to write 25 to the 3/2 in radical power. So the bottom number 2 tells us to take the square root of 25. The top number tells us to cube our answer. Okay, and because we're taking a square root right here, we have to make sure that when we get the square root of 25, we consider that that could be positive or negative. So we say x equals, it could be 5 cubed, or it could be, that base could be negative 5 cubed. Okay, you can also write plus or minus 5 to the 3rd. So your answer, 5 to the 3rd is 125, negative 5 to the 3rd is negative 125, and so we get plus or minus 125. Okay, and I know that plus or minus sign can be confusing. Just try to remember, if you have a step where you have to take an even root, that's when you have to consider that that original base could be positive or negative. So whatever number you're taking the even root of, that number there, boom, could be a plus or it could be a minus. All right, the next problem, we're going to start by subtracting 3 from both sides. x to the 3/2 equals 64. Okay, and now we're going to raise both sides to the 2/3 power. So we're trying to get rid of that 3/2. So when we raise to the 2/3, we just get x equals. And now we're going to write this in radical form. The 3 tells me to take the cubed root of 64. The 2 on top tells me to square my answer. So if you do the cubed root of 64 in a calculator, you get 4, and 4 squared equals 16. And so the answer is x equals 16. Okay, so that's just kind of a summary of how to solve equations that have exponents. Now, the next video I made had talked about solving equations with radicals. Okay, so if you have two radicals, one on each side of an equation, and the radicand is the same, so in this case we have a cubed root and a cubed root, all you're going to do, you're going to cube both sides. And when you cube those two sides, that eliminates the cubed root sign. You kind of lift the gate is what I say in class. And so you end up with 3x minus 5 equals x plus 3. Okay, and then we're going to subtract x from both sides. We get 2x minus 5 equals 3. And then we can add 5 to both sides, so 2x equals 8. And then lastly, if we divide both sides by 2, x equals 4. Okay? Now, if you have two radicals and they're both set equal to 0, what you're going to do here is we're going to take this entire radical, the square root of 5x, we're going to add it to the other side. So we're going to write the square root of 2x plus 6 equals the square root of 5x. We're just going to move it to the other side and make it positive. Now we can go ahead and square both sides. If we square a square root, we lift the gate, and we're left with 2x plus 6 equals 5x. And then we can subtract 2x from both sides. 6 equals 3x. Divide both sides by 3. And x equals 2. Okay? All right, now in the last set of problems, we have a radical on one side, and then we have a whole number on the other side. So what you're going to do, we can't do anything with this 2x plus 5 until we get rid of this 3. So we're going to start by cubing both sides, okay, just like we did in the previous problems. Okay, so when we cube, we're going to eliminate the 3 here. We're going to lift the gate, and we get 2x plus 5. But then on the right side, we have to actually multiply. We have to do 5 to the 3rd power. So if you use a calculator, you get 125. Okay, and then from there, now we can get to the 5 and the 2. We subtract 5 from both sides. 2x equals 120. And then we can divide both sides by 2. X equals 60. Okay, and then the last problem. We got to try to get to that x minus 5. So we're going to start by raising both sides to the 4th power. Okay, so when we raise the left side to the 4th power, we lift the gate, and we're left with x minus 5 equals 2 to the 4th power is 16. Okay, so the last step, we add 5 to both sides, and we get x equals 21. Okay, so even if you didn't watch my 2 previous videos, hopefully that lesson made a little bit of sense. I would like you to go ahead and do the next e-learning assignment. It's just a short worksheet, 4 problems. I just want to see that you guys are practicing some of these. Check your answers against the key and then submit it via Schoology so I can give you some points. Thanks a lot. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope to talk